Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD Relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD Trauma Transformational Tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, I am giving you permission to take care of you while you're in PMDD. While you're going through the symptoms, while you're struggling, while you're trying to figure out how to juggle your relationship and your symptoms and everything that you're going through, I'm giving you permission to take a step back and see what it is that you need. And I know so many times when we're in relationships, we start to think that our partner's well-being is more important than ours, that we kind of have to put ourselves on the back burner because we're in a relationship, and we think, oh, what that means is even though I'm struggling with PMDD, even though I have fatigue, I have anxiety, I have all these things, a lot of the things that your partner may not understand that you have, and you're struggling in silence while you're continuously showing up for them. And I want to give you permission today to do what you need to do to make you feel, even if it's 5%, 10% better. I know with me, I'm always talking about my morning routine, and it's because it's one of the only things that I have found that has made me feel at least 10% better. You know, and some days are better than others, but at a minimum, it makes me feel 10% better. And I urge you to find something in your life. I do this for my private clients, but it's different for everyone. Find something that you know that is going to make you at least 10% better, because what's going to happen is you're going to begin to resent your PMDD partner because they're going to be the reason why you're not feeling good. You're going to do the actions to be there for them, but at the end of the day, you're going to begin to resent them because you're going to think back in your head, if I didn't spend all this time tending to my partner's needs, maybe I would have more time to pour into myself. Maybe if I didn't spend so much time arguing and fighting with my PMDD partner or struggling to try to get them to understand that I'm struggling. And sometimes that's what the struggle is. The struggle that you're feeling, the pull that you're feeling, the push that you're feeling is you trying to explain to your partner that PMDD is real. I'm not making this up. I really am suffering. And I think a lot of the reasons that they don't think that is because you're doing so many things. And they feel like, oh, you can't possibly be suffering because you're getting up every morning and you're doing all the things, or you're at least operating at a higher standard from which maybe they would if they were experiencing our symptoms. And so because we don't have an outward illness where you can actually see it, it's one of those things where it's intrinsic. Then it's harder to understand. And that's why I created the PMDD Partner Support Group, is so that they can get into the group and understand what PMDD sufferers are really going through, what we really go through on a month-to-month basis. And they don't think, oh, you got it. Because when you get into that mentality of you're telling them, hey, I'm suffering right now, and they see you doing all the things. Right? Especially when you have insomnia. I know I get to a point where I'm doing so many things that no one would ever know, and that's including your partner. And because you're just sharing your struggles with them with words by just telling them, and you're like, how come they don't understand? I'm saying. And it's because you're still doing and showing up for them more than you're showing up for yourself. They don't see you going internal and taking care of yourself and giving yourself self-care and doing the things that you need to do. They see you consistently showing up. So it's kind of like someone telling you that, oh, I'm bleeding. I promise I'm bleeding. And you look at them and they look fine. But then you're mad at them because you're like, you know what? I told you that I'm bleeding. Like, why don't you believe me? They don't believe you because you don't have any rituals that you do that are literally like, okay, I'm in PMDD. I need to take care of myself right now. Like, I'm doing something different when I'm in PMDD. I have a different routine. I have different responsibilities. I have different capabilities, because you're feeling so guilty about saying that. You're feeling like you need to prove yourself to your partner because you do have valid things that are actually going wrong in your relationship. So you're feeling like, if I admit that I'm in PMDD, all of a sudden my partner's going to think everything is PMDD. So anything that I say for 2 weeks straight, 3 weeks straight, it's not valid because now I'm put in this crazy box. You're not crazy. You're experiencing symptoms, and it's okay to operate accordingly. It's okay to take a break if you need to take a break. You don't have to consistently show up as much as you do when you're not in PMDD. And I actually don't advise that you do that because you're burning out your nervous system. When your body needs rest, which it does more when you're in PMDD, when it needs you to take a break, when it needs you to pull back and you don't do that, it's just going to show up more in your life. And you're going to find yourself in this circle of fighting your body, fighting your mind. If you genuinely want your PMDD symptoms to get better, then I need you to start focusing more on yourself and what it is that you need. And this is why there is this misconception of, oh, my symptoms are so much better when I'm single. Like now that I'm single and I'm not with my partner, my symptoms are so much better. And no, the reality is you just finally took the time to take care of yourself, which is something that you can do while you're in a relationship. Don't put the blame on your partner for not doing the things that you need to do to feel better and say, oh, my partner's the reason. You can do what you want. You can do what you want. It's just you're not wanting to deal with the consequences of having to deal with their attitude, their mood about you choosing you. But I'm here to tell you, number one, they're going to get over it. And so I want you to get that fear out of your mind that it's like, I don't want to hear my partner be disappointed. It's so much easier if I'm single, because if I let someone down, I'm just letting myself down. I don't want to see that they're disappointed. I don't want to feel the guilt of not showing up and being there for them. But what I want to let you know is you're resenting them for not doing something that you could actually do while you're with them. Because when you start showing up for yourself, pouring into yourself when you're in PMDD and you switch up your routine, they will adapt to that. But what they're not going to adapt to is you burning yourself out and then getting stressed out and irritated with them and thinking that your relationship's not going to get damaged. Because you think that you're helping by showing up fully when you're in PMDD, but you're really hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself, you're hurting your partner, and you're hurting your relationship. You're hurting yourself because you're getting burnt out and you're making your PMDD symptoms worse. You're hurting your partner because you're showing up to them and you're irritable. You're doing the things, but you're not doing them in a loving way. You're doing them with underlying bitterness and resentment because you're like, yeah, I'm showing up. Yeah, I'm doing this, but you're not happy about it. And you're hurting the relationship because you're not choosing to show up as your best, not the best, not this version of best that you have in your mind of how you think a relationship should be. I need you to get that out of your mind. However you think that a relationship should be, get it out of your mind, because it's messing with your head and it's making you do things that you're not capable of doing while still being loving. Your ultimate goal in your PMDD relationship should always be my JBL method. Just be loving. And whatever that looks like for you in the moment, sometimes for me, just being loving is putting my phone on do not disturb, me taking a hot bath, me, painting my fingernails, me doing that. That was me being loving because I'm not choosing to take whatever frustration and stress that I have out on my partner. That's a version of me being loving. I did that last night. I felt the symptoms and I'm like, you know what? Anything I say and do, it's like the the cops thing, anything you say and do will be held against you in the court of law. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, I'm not going to show up to my partner like this. And it's okay. It is okay. If you need to take a step back so that you can show up better next time, it's better for you to take a step back. Like for me, it was better for me to take a step back last night to just pour into myself. Literally, I got some sleep. I painted my nails. I took a hot bath. I had just came off of traveling. I knew I was stressed. I knew I was overwhelmed. And instead of getting straight on the phone and talking to my partner and saying, well, you did this and the blaming and shaming, those are two of the biggest relationship killers for PMDD sufferers. Blaming and shaming, because when you get into that mode and you're burnt out, you start blaming and shaming and blaming and shaming, and your partner, it feels like there's daggers being thrown at them, and it feels good to you in the moment to get it out because you're like, yeah, there's somebody to blame for it. But when you get into those moments and you're like, yeah, there's somebody to blame for it, and now you feel better about it, you're really hurting your partner. You're damaging your relationship. So when you have those feelings of just being like, you know what, I'm not feeling good right now, I'm actually suffering, then there's certain things that you need to do to reflect that so that your partner knows. I know for me, if my phone is on Do Not Disturb and it's a certain time that it's not normally, my partner knows, okay, she's suffering right now. And this took time. And when I say time, I would say it took about a good 8 months of me being consistent. So I will say that when you first begin to do it, your partner is probably going to try to deter you from doing it. And, you know, if you're not showing up and doing all the things that you would normally do, they may say, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that. I need you to be brave and to put a stance down initially so that the next day, because that's how it was for me. I just took that evening after I've been traveling and stressed out. I took that evening and I said, you know what? I'm actually not going to do anything else. I'm not going to try to force myself to engage with my partner in a loving way. Like for me, I used to do that so many times and it felt obligatory. It's almost like when you get into PMDD, you feel like your partner is requiring things of you that they've not actually said that they require, but you feel like these are things I should be doing. And so you force yourself to do them, and you're forcing and you're forcing and you're forcing, and it's taking so much out of you, especially when you're in PMDD. It's taking so much out of you, and you're emptying a tank when your gas light is on E. Like, think of yourself when you're in PMDD. There's times where you can do half the things that you would normally do on a normal basis, and your gas tank is on E. Your light comes on. But here's what we do. Our light comes on, and when we're in a relationship, we keep going. We're like, no, because I can't go to my partner and say I can't do this for them, because then it's going to be the spotlight is on PMDD, and it's going to be like, oh, it's because you're in PMDD. And that's almost like the worst thing that you can hear. So you force yourself, and you're forcing and you're forcing and you're forcing, and you're burning yourself out, and you're starting to build up that resentment for your partner, because you're like, you're the reason why I'm burnt out, when in reality, you are the one that's killing yourself by trying to show up in a manner that doesn't make you feel good. Your partner wants you to feel good. Your partner wants to be with you at a time where you're feeling good, because when you feel good, they feel good. We've talked about this before. So when you're in an intimate relationship, it's not like you're going to work when you can just fake it. You know what I mean? And just being like, oh, I'm just going to pretend like everything's fine. No, your partner deals with your authentic emotions, how you genuinely feel. So if your feelings behind the actions that you're doing is off, if your feelings are off, then they're going to feel that. And then it's going to be like, well, then you're going to feel frustrated because you're like, man, I wasted my time and they're not even buying this act. And that's what it is. It's an act. It is an act, because you're not genuinely happy to be interacting with them. You genuinely need time for yourself. And I want you to be okay with that and communicating that to your partner. Communicate that to them. in a way that they can understand and be authentic. Because when you're not authentic and you're just showing up and, you're just doing the things that you feel like you should be doing, it's like robotic. My partner used to call it being on autopilot. They're not connecting to that. There's no value in that. It's taking a lot out of you, but it's not really helping. So I want you to begin to communicate how you're genuinely feeling and showing up as that and being okay with it. And a way that you can do that when you're feeling like you're just like, I feel like I can't do more. I feel like I need to do this. I need to do that. Like your head is spinning in these thoughts of what you should be doing. I'm going to give you some PMDD Trauma Transformational Tools today that's really going to help you to really get into that mindset of it's okay. I'm giving you permission. I'm giving you permission to love yourself more when you're in PMDD and not feel like you have to do everything for your partner and do nothing for yourself. Because what's going to happen if you don't? What's going to happen if you don't is that you're going to begin to lose your self-confidence. And so the first thing that I want you to really focus on, really just listen to the things that I'm saying, use them as affirmations, and just repeat them. And it's just going to be a couple, but it's really going to help you when you get into those moments of, I feel like I need to do. And the first one is loving myself during PMDD gives me confidence. And I know self-esteem is one of the things that we feel like goes down the drain, way down the drain when we're in PMDD. You're like, I feel like this horrible person. I feel like I should be doing more. I feel like my partner thinks I'm this horrible person. I feel like maybe my partner wants to be with someone else. But loving yourself is going to give you confidence. There's so much power in knowing and reminding yourself of who you are and knowing that the things that you're doing to conquer PMDD every single month, it is conquering PMDD. And this is what I say, when you go through PMDD every single month, it's not like you're dragging yourself through it. I want you to think of it as I'm conquering PMDD for this month. I'm not going to let PMDD get the best of me. And the way that you do that is you give self-love to yourself, whatever that looks like. And I know that phrase, self-love, self-care, is so overused, especially on social media. And you're like, what does that even mean? And what that means is whatever that means for you. Like, don't look at, what I'm doing or what someone else is doing and say, oh, I'm not loving myself enough, all these things. What is going to make you feel good? I tell you all the time, my morning routine consists of something that could be different for you. And it doesn't even have to be a morning routine for you. It could be an afternoon routine where you're feeling really crappy and you're like, I need to remind myself of who I am. And know that you're doing enough. So many times when we get into PMDD, we feel like we should be doing more. We feel like our partner thinks we should be doing more. And we just need to give ourselves permission to say, you know what? I'm doing enough. Because when you soften up, that's what your partner wants. Your partner doesn't want you stressed out, flaming all over the place. But they're like, let me give you an example. Your partner would, if you feel like, oh, I got to come home and I got to make dinner because I have a partner and I'm the only way that they're going to eat because there's no restaurants. Like, you put all this pressure on yourself when really what you want to do is go home and take a nap. And instead of calling your partner, texting your partner, or even saying to their face, hey, baby, I'm not feeling like cooking tonight. Is there any way that you can pick something up? I guarantee you that they would be more willing to pick something up for you if after they did it, you were calm, you were loving, you were nice, versus if you were to force yourself to fix them a meal that you would turn up snappy, you would turn up irritable, you're exhausted. They don't want that version of you. I told you so many times that my partner said, I don't want that version of you. And I used to get offended. Like, what do you mean? If you don't, what is that phrase? If you don't love me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. I used to believe that. And I think that part of that was the ego. Like, oh, you need to love me when I'm being an a-hole or I'm being a B. You know, I don't curse on here. It's a clean podcast, but you know what I mean? I used to say, oh, you should love me even during those times. Yeah, they may love me, but they don't like me when I'm being like that. And who would? Like, I don't know why you think that your partner has the superpower of just looking at all of the hurtful things that you're saying and your attitude or you're shutting down or all these things and think that, oh, but because we're in an intimate relationship, it should be cute. It's not cute. It's not cute. They don't like it. And a lot of times you can diffuse you getting to that point by slowing things down and pulling back and taking the time to do the things that you need to do for you. So I'm giving you permission to do that so that you can stop doing damage to your relationship. A lot of the times that we go off on PMDD rage, it's not one trigger and like, oh, I got triggered one time and all of a sudden I just went off. No, we have PMDD rage. We don't have Tourette's. We're not like you push a button and bam, we're off. It is because you are enduring multiple triggers. You're not communicating those triggers to your partner. You're taking it all in and you're doing all the things and you feel like you need to go and you feel this pressure and you feel and all these things. And then you go off on PMDD rage. There's a process. I want you to become self-aware of when that trigger started so that you can circle back, rewind the tape and be like, wait a minute. I went off on PMDD rage at this point. When did I initially feel triggered? Oh, it was like a couple days, a couple months before, and I was just holding it in because that's what I thought I had to do. I want you to be comfortable in who you are when you are in PMDD. Don't shy away from that and be like, oh, I hate that person. It totally sucks. Lean into it. What you resist will persist. I want you to stop fighting it because if you notice every single time you fight PMDD, and I've done this so many times, I fought it. It wins. It wins because it feeds off of the resistance. If I accept it and say, you know what? I'm in PMDD right now. My life is not going to look the same. I'm not going to kill myself trying to force myself to be a certain way, show up a certain way that I don't genuinely feel. I used to say to my partner, we just need to talk about positive things the whole time while I'm in PMDD. And I was miserable doing it because I needed somebody to vent to. I needed to be able to talk about things and to be open and honest because I wasn't doing it at work. I wasn't doing it with my children. I wasn't doing it with my dog even. Like I was still like, oh, let me take you for a nice cherry. Like I was trying to show up as my best to everyone else. And I needed that one person. And for a lot of my private clients, I am that one person. And I want you to, and I'm honored that you allow me to be that one person that you can be authentically yourself with when you're in PMDD. But I want you to share that also with your partner. Because that's how intimacy is built. And walls are built from you trying to show up and be inauthentic and do all the things and then resent them afterwards. You're just brick by brick. Every time that you do something that is not in alignment with you feeling your best while you're in PMDD, you're putting another brick on that wall and your partner's on the other side and you're on this side. And so you think that you're struggling to build something that's for the both of you when you're really building something that's in between the both of you. Your partner doesn't want to see you struggling just to show up to them. They want to see you. If you're suffering, I'm going to show you a way. You can suffer without being bitter, angry, and resentful towards your PMDD partner. You can actually suffer in a way that brings you and your PMDD partner closer. And it took me years to figure this out. Because I used to be like, oh, I need to do it all on my own. I just, the whole, I need to be single if I'm going to do this. No, I needed to be open and vulnerable and ask for help. And if they didn't do it perfectly, I promise you, if you chastise them, if you blame them, if you shame them for not doing it perfect, they'll never do it again. Or they'll never do it again without being bitter about it. So you better zip that up. Like if you ask your partner to do something like, hey, I need you to make me dinner, and they didn't make it perfectly, oh freaking well. Oh well, because you're not perfect either. So don't you dare go to them while you're in PMDD and be like, I'm suffering, and all I asked you to do was make the spaghetti the right way, and you got these thick noodles and I like angel hair. And now they're sitting there beating, because what they're going to do is they're going to beat themselves up so bad internally for not doing things the right way. And you're going to start to give them anxiety and panic attacks about doing things for you. So then every single time you ask them to do something, they're going to associate it with anxiety and panic attacks. And now you're going to become the enemy. So I want you to stop that. If you did it in the past, I know we all have, I want you to stop it. Just like I'm giving you permission to show up as your authentic self, give your partner permission to do the same and stop blaming them and shaming them. If they don't get it right, pick something that they did get right. I appreciate that you cooked for me. You don't have to immediately point out the one thing that they didn't do. The freaking noodles. What about the sauce? What about the meat in the sauce? What about the garlic bread on the side? Like, what about the glass of wine? What about the water? Like, you pick something else. What we focus on will magnify. And it's so easy to just pick something. When you have this mentality within your relationship where you're looking for something negative, you're going to find it. So if you already have that negative mindset about your partner, we need to rewire with that. We need to fix that, because that means everything that they're doing, you're going to see it through this lens, and it's not good, because that means you're one step out the door. And if you're one step out the door, what are you doing? What are you doing? Is that really what you want? To be one step out of the door, or are you trying to get closer to them? Because if so, you need to be strategic in the steps that you're taking in your relationship to make sure that the things that you're doing are bringing you closer to your partner and not further apart. So if you've not signed up for the PMDD Partners group coaching program, which starts literally tomorrow. So it starts on December 1st. By the time this podcast is released, I believe that we will have already had our next session, but I am going to have enrollment open for the whole month of December so that we can start the new year together. After December, I'm probably going to close the enrollment because I want to keep this group at an intimate size so that I'm able to answer everyone's questions about their relationship and really get into it. And I don't want it to be so big to where you feel like you're not seen, right? So this is going to be literally a group where you're going to have direct access to me, where you can ask me the questions. Trust me, I've been through everything that you've been through within your relationship with PMDD. I've said all the things, I've made all the mistakes, but I do have the tools for you to turn that around. I teach my exact PMDD Partners Trauma Transformational Tools in my support group, and enrollment is open right now. Go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com, so that you can join and so that you and your partner can see that not only is PMDD real, but PMDD is not something that has to ruin your relationship. So the first topic, I just gave it to you right now. So by the time this comes out, you'll be able to watch the replay of it. But the first topic, every single week, there's going to be different topics. And this first topic is going to be PMDD is real. And so often we're getting into that mode of trying to, we're stressing ourselves out because we're trying to explain to our partner, it's real. It's real. I'm not just making it up. And I know a lot of times your partners do think that you're making it up because you genuinely do have pre-existing issues in your relationship. So they're like, oh, you're just using this as an excuse because, oh, I get it. Now you have PMDD. Like that's the reason. And so this is really going to give them the science behind the fact that PMDD is actually a disorder. As you know, I am getting my PMDD doctorate in studies specifically for PMDD partners. I'm creating the research that is not presently there. I just turned in another draft to my dissertation chair. Oh my gosh, I just turned it in Thanksgiving Day. I guess they don't take holidays, or I don't know what that was, but and the research is so, when I tell you, my professor was consistently asking me, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? Because it's taken me so much longer and it's so much harder because there's not research that's already been published. I've reached out to a lot of relationship experts in other fields just to get their input, and even they were blown away. And one of them was Dr. Gottman, who I love, Dr. John Gottman. And I was, talking to him, and they literally said, like, please send me a copy of your work once it's published because I want to read it because it's so not present. And this is how much people don't know about the suffering that we go through. So stay connected with me, get into that group, because everything that I'm talking about in the group is going to be way different from the podcast. We are actually going to have tools. We're going to have workbooks. We're going to have homework. I'm going to be teaching you. It's not just you're listening to me. I'm actually going to be giving you exercises, homework at the end of every single session that we do. And I know that it's really hard to listen to the tools that I give you on the podcast and try to strategically apply them to your relationship. So I'm going to give you step by step, and we're going to practice them. And it's going to be scenario based, and it's going to be very interactive. And I just want you to be able to get that up close and personal. Like, okay, how do I implement these tools in my relationship this week? You could be having progress in your relationship week by week by just doing the tools. When you're a part of the group, you get a live session with me every single week. It's going to be Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every single week. So that's 4 topics regarding PMDD relationships. And as the vault builds, you'll be able to have access to do the replay. So if you're dealing with something about a topic that we're talking about, and maybe it doesn't apply to you that week, but the next week, I guarantee that's the thing about having PMDD. It's like everything doesn't apply all the times, but I guarantee you, it's going to come up, because these are things that come up in PMDD relationships every single month. So even if it's not this month, it'll be next month. And at least you'll be able to press play on something and not feel completely lost, because the worst thing that you can do is throw away the right person because you had the wrong resources or none at all. And that's not why I'm here. I'm here to show up for you, to give you the tools that you need so that you can know that you can have the supportive relationship that you desire and deserve while having PMDD. I'm on PMDD day 1. We got this. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners workbook. What this workbook can do is, if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things, so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship, so you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.